I remember being in Africa when I was about 20, traveling on a minibus, and I met this guy and he said, "Why are you traveling?" And I said, "What do you mean? Why am I traveling? Traveling's great. Everybody knows traveling's great." This guy hadn't travelled anywhere in his life ever. And I just realized that I'd never even asked myself the question of why travel is a good thing. Basically, I love everything about travel. I find everything about it exciting. I love getting in a taxi to go to the airport. I love airports. I love being in transit. I feel like a rock star. I feel glamorous every time I travel. There are certain things, there's security checks. The fact that I'm physically very tall is, always incredibly uncomfortable to travel internationally on, cramped economy flights. I find travel now has become a lot less spontaneous. It's too easy now to plan your trip ahead of time. Those kind of happy coincidences or sort of mad stories of missed connections and things don't happen as much. It's a lot easier to sort of make sure everything works when you're traveling, and I think that sort of robs traveling of a lot of its romance. I can actually see people intentionally making travel more difficult for themselves simply because they're not having that much fun when it's that easy. When things are too easy, they're not that much fun. And when you don't necessarily know where you're going next, and where you don't necessarily know how you're even going to pay for it, or who you're going to meet, or how you're going to get there, suddenly you're having an adventure, and try not to plan ahead, or very rarely ever book a hotel unless I know I'm going to somewhere at the time of a big event or something like that. I trust my own instincts. I think I have very good instincts when I travel, that I think that if I walk past a particular restaurant or a particular hotel that's got a kind of vibe, I think, yeah, this is my kind of place. I'm going to go and check this place out. For starters, I don't trust online reviews at all. I find them extremely easy to fake and extremely unreliable. We used to laugh when we were traveling that the first entry in the Lonely Planet was always completely packed, and the second entry, which was often better, had no one there, and people almost are afraid to kind of just think for themselves and just do their own thing, When I book flights, I go for the cheapest. Yeah, I just Google it, and there's no particular website I'm loyal to. I don't like those ones that have like a million pop-ups where they go, "Oh, we're just checking, 10,000 different sites for you now." I think frequent flyers are kind of a bit of a scam, and I don't really use them, so I don't have loyalty to one particular airline. Or you never really travel in your own country that much, nobody does. But also Australia's really expensive, it's really expensive to travel here. I mean, Asia is very well set up for tourism, I think. It's cheap, it's easy. It's also exciting for a Westerner because it's quite different. You really know you're somewhere different when you get off the plane in Bangkok or Manila. I was 19 and I was in Bangkok, and there was a sort of group of local toughs kind of down the street who's getting on the back of one of their bikes and taking off down the street in the middle of Bangkok at 6 o'clock in the morning with no traffic, with all the skyscrapers and the air really kind of heavy and sort of smelly. And I remember feeling the freest I'd ever felt. That stays with me as a moment of absolute happiness. Almost half my friends I've made traveling. You can be very permissive in your making of friends when you're traveling, because you're kind of lonely sometimes, particularly if you're traveling on your own, obviously. And so you'll kind of talk to anyone, and sometimes you'll sort of think, geez, that guy was my best friend. And then a few months later on Facebook, you realize, my God, we have nothing in common. So authentic experience has never mattered to us as much as it does now, because my theory goes that so much of our life is lived virtually and can be faked. The way that social media and the internet has made communicating while you're away way too easy, to the point that it feels like you never really left. And I think this obsessive kind of contacting of home or uploading of Instagram photos or whatever really robs you of ever having felt like you were ever really gone anywhere. I think the question should be not, how do you keep in touch with your family? I think it should be, how do you make sure that your family doesn't find you when you're away? You're in Rome, you're at the Colosseum, stop worrying about your emails for a moment.